Good evening. I'm Gloria, and this is Inception Live chat show. First off the bat, we're having technical issues with screen sharing, and where Casey was going to share the pictures. However, it may happen through the live show, but even I'm having technical issues from my laptop trying to get them onto the screen because I have some in my computer. However, all will not be lost because what I'll do after the show, if we're unsuccessful, I will then get hold of the pictures from Casey. I will put them back up on the page all together so you can then go and look at the pictures individually. In fact, you'll spend more time with the pictures. You won't have a fleeting glance at them. Now I put that out of the way, I'd like to welcome Casey to the show. Welcome, my lovely, and thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Gloria, for having me on. And thank you, everybody who may be here or listening afterward.
They normally watch it on the rerun. People do. There's so many podcasts and shows out there. We can't watch them all. So
No.
if anyone's like me, I'm always playing catch up with other podcasts. So before we go into, obviously the area, we're going to discuss is a combination between consciousness and crystal, and the crystal. We will get to that. That will be the main part of our conversation. But could you give the audience, and it's the first time on the show, for anyone that's not aware of you yet, and my God, after they hear you, they're going to want to know more, how your spiritual journey began that led you to the crystal?
Well, let me just point blanket. I'm what you might call a professional spiritual student.
Yeah.
And I've been practicing spiritual disciplines since a very young age, approximately the age of 12. And that whole process led me into my 40s when I had an awakening experience. And it was a profound awakening experience that lasted roughly 4 years. And in this experience, I'm having a kundalini activation, a crown to base kundalini activation that was literally reworking my physical frame. It wasn't a comfortable process, especially in the beginning, but it was something that was so overt that you couldn't miss it. And due to the phenomena that was occurring, I just began asking questions, just like anybody would. What is this? What's happening? What's going on? And at approximately the same time, I'm beginning to be taken out of body. I'm just let to witness myself slowly stop breathing until I'm no longer in physical space. It was a phenomenal process for me to witness because I had been teaching pranayama and this time of a thing since, at least for a decade or more, and adored observing the breath. So as this is happening and I'm all of a sudden ending up in other places, I'm getting more and more fascinated. But the places that I'm ending up in large part, are with the ETs on board craft on the table. So they're kind of hardcore experiences. But the ETs bring to my attention the connection that I have with crystals, and especially working with them for communications purposes. And as this is in play over the years that are coming, I'm having this phenomena begin with a crystal I have that I was sent out to get. I was given the message, go find your crystal.
Okay.
And I had started, it took me a decade to find Isa. And this is Isa. I knew that I would recognize the crystal when I saw her. I wasn't a crystal person. I knew nothing about crystals. I'm like, go find my crystal. What does that mean?
Where did you find her, Casey?
Well, fortunately, I was in Santa Monica and living in that Los Angeles area at the time. And I don't know if you've ever been there, but every other block is, a really nice crystal shop. There's crystal shops everywhere. So if you're going to go find your crystal, that's where you want to be to go find it. But still, it took me a long time. It took me roughly 7 years, I think, to find Isa. And when I saw her, I absolutely recognized her. I could actually hear her calling in the shop. And I was trying to locate where I was hearing this call from. when I saw her, picked her up and couldn't put her down, and she immediately gave me her name, Isa. I just could hear Isa, Isa. I had never heard that name before. So when I got home, I did a little search on it and found out that it's the female name for Jesus.
Yeah.
I told my connection with the Christ line. That's how that all began. And that's my connection with Isa, is through the Christ line. And shortly after, the phenomena that's occurring now began. And basically what that is I began to see moving pictures inside the crystal. And it just happened one morning that I was waking up. I just happened to be, I was at work, I was sleeping on a little sofa right in front of a little coffee table that was literally right in front of my face. And Isa was just laying there on her side. And the sunrise was coming up. It was right on the coast highway. So this glorious sunrise is coming through, striking the crystal. And I had just happened to be waking up and opening my eyes, and she was just right in front of my face. And I started seeing the moving pictures. And I bat my eyes a few times and wonder if I'm actually seeing what I think I'm seeing. Because I have always been highly visual, and there's a lot in my visual range that isn't in other people's visual range. And so I never quite know if what I'm seeing is in physical space or not. And so anyway, the camera was sitting right there next to the crystal, and I'm like, well, I'll see if I can get a photo. If I can get a photo, it's happening in physical space. And I took the photo, and there they were, the entire scene that I was seeing inside the crystal. And it just happened to be my birth into this earth life. That's what that whole scene was depicting.
Wow. I mean, that's gonna, we'll come up to the segue to lead into actually the photographs that we're unable due to technical issues to upload, but they will be uploaded on the advert later. Being an experiencer myself and contactee and all, the rest, I experience the beings and information one way, and all the most amazing guests that come on the show, that they experience multiple diverse ways, which for me is absolutely beautiful. I love the diversity of this multi-dimensional game we're all going through, and how we interact. However, when I saw you on Rob's show, and I saw the pictures themselves, I wasn't surprised that I've never seen it in a crystal, but I wasn't surprised that you had a contact between a crystal, because being a medium, you can use anything, water, whatever. However, when I saw the photographs, I connected to the beings, and it was that really drew me in. So before we go into a greater picture of what you actually do with this, is there a select sort of like collection of beings, or is it one being or 5 beings? How many beings do you work with the crystal?
That's a really good question. If you're asking how many beings have come through the crystal and do the portraits, we're snapshotting my entire soul template. So
explain soul template for the audience.
It literally is a complete reunion of all the soul fragments from this soul, my soul, in this physical body, in this physical construct, this physical lifetime. And I'm just showing it to you. I'm showing people who say this and sort of know this from the withinness of themselves, that this is a time right now wherein this is occurring. I'm showing it. I'm sort of lending a proof. It literally is happening.
It is.
Let me show you.
I'm in total agreement on this, 100%. It literally is happening. I want to stay there, just stay there for a while. So the pictures that are coming through this is your soul fragments. I use the word fractals, like a hologram, and it fractalizes out in each part of the whole, but all just different perceptions, each one. So different. And I say it's like on all timelines now, this is part of me. My terminology is the multi-dimensional experience, and they're coming back in to show that. However, I've got to ask this question because it's going to be personal to me. When you saw whatever being, the first one that come through, or the second or the third, how did you relate to seeing your consciousness in a different physical vessel? Like, that's me, that's part of me. How did that, for the audience and for me, because I'd love to know your intuitive perception, because I've got my own, obviously. So,
well, it's something that I had experienced in first person and out of body experiences for more than a decade prior to this happening. So when I shift and I am, quote, out of body, I'm never myself. I've always been someone else. And so I'm quite accustomed to seeing myself.
Because you're an OBE, you're really experienced OBE, aren't you? That's what you did.
That's the main thing. But see, the OBE, the main thing that I am, well, there's a few main things that I'm learning in the OBE. But one of them is that consciousness is the reality. Physicality is a playground, but consciousness is the reality. And consciousness is an open system. And so you can combine your consciousness with any consciousness and experience yourself in and as that. And that is what I was doing in the OBE. It's why I always looked like someone else. It was because, well, sometimes it was my most of the time, let me just focus there. Most of the time, it was my consciousness merged in the consciousness field of another person. And I was there in order to help, or never anywhere for any other reason other than to help. You know, that person would be moving through a sequence of events, and my thoughts and feelings about what was happening were accessible to that one. And that may have been beyond the range of what was normally thought and felt by that person. And so it just added, it gave them some extra input, you know, to use in the situation that they were in. And that's also how I go about the healing modalities. When I'm involved in healing, I will shift out and into the consciousness field of a person and see myself in, you know, a particular terrain moving through a sequence of events, and I help. I give them thoughts.
I mean, it reminds me of what actually these multi-dimensional beings, that, or I call them energy personalities, it reminds me of what they actually do with us. How it's just the same process, and
except for we're them now doing
we're
with others.
Exactly, we're them now, and it's part of. I mean, I call it the 0 point, which it's all coming to. But part of this is for the individual being playing the human. They are already doing it. They're already doing this sort of the healing to another, but they're not consciously aware of it, that they can do it. And it's the process of them, the interdimensionals coming in and working with us, or the likes of yourself and the work that you do going out. And would you say on that area, because maybe it's just me, I think it's going more out to the collective now. Many are becoming aware of this co-creation, this support. I can't find the word for it, but do you understand where I'm going with this?
Yes, this combining consciousness being an open system. This is something that is always ever in play. It's just a matter of letting our ground level self come into the awareness of that and participating in first person in it and experiencing that and what it's like. That's what most people aren't doing yet, because they're still stuck in the 3D playground.
I'm with you.
And all that needs to happen is they just need to turn their perception inside out, turn their attention inside out, you know, and your consciousness. I'm a consciousness field, and inside this consciousness field, which is also in our perception a visual field, the world and everything is, but it's taking place in me. And this is why there's no hesitancy to assist in any way you deem fit. And this would be true for someone who was positive and or negative. It's all assistance. And it keeps a right balance. It does keep a harmony. But when the fact that it keeps a harmony evades our conscious attention and we begin to think that something wrong is happening, we can get lost in the drama of all of that. And that's where most people are. They're sort of lost in the drama, all of that, not realizing what it is behind all of this and how it keeps itself at all times and always in a harmonious state of balance.
I'm with you. I mean, it's I want to pull back slightly. It's the area you spoke on, and it's related to the crystal. Like me being an artist, as you can see, the beings come through. I mean, in obviously the experiencer, the contact is a different scenario, but in conscious waking state, even though there's been contact in that state, they come through on my art, and there's always like a frequency, a message, a vibration, and it would not only affect me, but people that look at my art and want my art go, oh, that one. And there's something, you know, so, you know, it's, for me, it's like the word I'm using lately, because I'm trying to articulate something that is intangible in the human language, is this process now. And this is why I so desired for you to be on the show, to because I'm hearing myself witnessing beings coming through whatever object, but I'm hearing of others. They're just touching that now. They don't have the total awareness. It's a process where they're seeing the beings, whether it's in the cloud formation, coming through, and they know, or it's, you know, through any object that they may have. It reminds me of way back in the day where we would have been burnt at the stake or ducked, where the scribe, or worse, or worse. More likely we've experienced that somewhere on some timeline, where it would all come out of, you know, the black bowl, you know, the Oracle of Delphi and all that and all those things. It reminds me of how every so often consciousness brings that back in, remember, and then it dissipates away. But we're in this period now, it's now, with an urgency now, where the way they're coming through your way with the crystals, and what you're actually doing is I've never seen the healing that way. Never, ever heard anyone share this type of healing by co-creating with the other fractals of yourself, because it's you all the time. So could you expand a bit more about when they first come in? So did you have a knowing? I mean, I'm trying to find the right question. So much to go into. Did you have a knowing when you first saw the first pictures coming through, that at that point where this would lead you? Or were you just like in awe of what you was experiencing at the time?
I was in entire awe and literally following all the breadcrumbs. So no, I know nothing in advance. I had no depth perception at the time that it began.
Yes.
And it's funny because you had mentioned the first who came through. The first was a feline. This whole thing began with what we call the Lion's Gate portal. So the heliacal alignment of our, just the alignment between our star and the Sirius star. That happens every year. I can prove that portal exists when that particular portal opens. And we have just the common portals, the equinoxes, the solstices, the sunrise, the sunset. With these other portals, and this is a part of what I'm here to help prove, actualize, show that it actually exists. Another thing that we're working on, with what we're doing and the degree to which we're doing it, is we're working on, dismantling that idea that everything beyond 3D physical is pareidolia. And so, dismantling some of those, structures and people to open their attention to the fact that there's more to reality than 3D physical reality. But that portal, that was the opening through which, the pictures began coming through, and I began being aware of them. And what mostly comes through are entire scenes, entire downloads. So I got the story of the Anunnaki.
Yeah.
I got the story of my birth into the earth life. I got the story about ancient Egypt, and a very particular version of it too, by the way, in which it's destroyed by Trons.
By giants.
And so, no, they were by Trons. Like, did you ever see the movie Tron?
No, I didn't. Please explain just for me.
Well, we could get lost there.
Give me a brief synopsis of it, because obviously, as you can see, I have an affinity with Egypt. So
yes, I do see. I think we all do. And Egypt, ancient Egypt, Atlantis, and of course the Anunnaki timeline really keys into everything that's in play right now on the planet. So anyway, I just saw basically what I'm seeing is my own timeline into me being here now. It's not that everybody else or anybody else followed that timeline here, but it was the one that I followed here. And so it's not something that happened and we can say consensually happened, for
it's personal to your experience.
Exactly.
Then I'm going to jump in because I'm going to have to do it. So you had you were shown your fractal part of your experience with the Anunnaki. You came.
Yes.
You came in with the Anunnaki at that point. So what can you share about the Anunnaki? Because
I can
everyone's out there with their belief systems that don't even experience such to even work on that truth. What can you share, anything about the Anunnaki and your participation with it?
Okay, so it's not like I know anything even about the Anunnaki. It's that they come through. And as they come through, as I integrate this data, as I work with the frames, as I gaze into them myself to see more of what's there, as through this process, I literally shift into additional consciousness fields and experience myself there. Maybe I sometimes make it back, into my physicality with some of that data still intact and still intact in a pure state, meaning not adulterated by my thinking in any way.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And so I can say that On exists. And I can say that Enlil and Anki are definitely exist and a part of that story. So they come through, as do the females, I can say that On has paired with what I call a black dragon queen. And I call her a black dragon queen simply because this dragon is a black dragon. Not because she's dark or evil. So please don't think along those lines. And that connection and that story is basically the story coming through this stone.
Okay.
So it's a story that has been embedded into this stone. And I'm still discovering whether or not by holding this stone, by combining my consciousness with this stone, my consciousness transferred it there. That's how it got there.
Yeah.
And now it's just sort of permanently there. I have to go into a very particular trajectory in this crystal in order to get that story. But there's something they're wanting me to know, something that they're wanting me to see. By they, I mean a body of my soul fragments who have not reached completion, who are still attempting to correct, or I say complete, with their experience here in the earth life. And that's happening through me here in this body. So they want me to know something in particular. So they're me.
Yeah, I'm with you. I resonate with all of this.
Inside here, behind here is all of that.
Yeah.
And so we came here to complete, to correct, to restore a balance.
Yeah.
Based on our own thoughts, behaviors, and activities while, involved in the earth life energy. And that story centers around a key figure, and that key figure, his name is Ur. And Ur is also the name, or a land that has been named Ur, in Mesopotamia.
Yeah.
And so that, of course, is going to take us all the way back to Govind and Tepi,
yeah,
and all of that.
I don't mind staying. We don't need to go into, which is now called Iraq. We won't go down there, but you're really sharing and really articulating really well the process for the audience and myself, because I'm going through similar, and I love other perceptions of this. So I'm just going to ask you one more thing. The black with the Anunaki, and you said the Black Dragon Queen. So we're aware of these beings, the Anunaki. What collective, if any, is the Black Dragon Queen? Or what dimensional being is the Black consciousness, is it?
Okay, it's something that I personally refer to as the magical realm. Okay, so I myself come through the dragon line. I come through dragons. The point at which I directly connect through to here in this body, here in this world, is through a dragon, a 9th dimensional dragon. Her name is Oriah. I have experienced myself in and as Oriah. Phenomenal. Okay. And so that is how I connect with the Black Dragon Queen in what I call the magical realm. And the magical realm is just this, in my own understanding. And I'm going to use a sphere of the 9 dimensions because a lot of people use that pattern. So 9th dimension being the highest dimension. And of course, you can pattern and make them as high as you want. We're just going to use this pattern for the sake of understanding what I'm about to say for a moment. So the highest dimension, we're going to say that's 9. And the first dimension, the elemental realm, we tend to see those as separated, there being a linear process to graduate, to grow or graduate from the first dimension to the 9th. But in fact, these, if you bring the ends of that line together and touch, form a circle. And where the first dimension and the 9th dimension meet, that's what I call the magical realms. Because a very high state of consciousness is able to work with the elemental realm to create literal worlds, universes. And that is how I'm able to work with the crystal here in this life.
Such a beautiful analogy. I'm going to go back to the Dragon Queen. So the dragons, I mean, I see dragons. Are they part of like what we call ancient reptilian, or I mean, I know obviously there's so much cross DNA between the whole in the galaxy and the star. I mean, we know that, but so, in fact, what's your interpretation of the Anunnaki? What type of beings that, I mean, everyone uses different terminology, type 1, type 2, 6-dimensional, reptilians, and all this, we say Palladium. So what type of beings would you describe the Anunnaki as, or just giants?
So they're like any other collective. Some of them are positively oriented. Some of them are negatively oriented. Amongst themselves, they hold a balance. And it's that right balance among the collective of what we could call the Anunnaki that it's best, I feel, to place our attention on. The same way with the Earth Human Collective, and specifically the 3D Earth Human Collective, because there's a 4D Earth Human Collective, a 5D Earth, and same thing with the Anunnaki. So to say the Anunnaki as though it's one thing is something most people don't even, you can do that, but only if you understand and experience yourself from, the highest dimension all the way through to this one all at once at the same time. Then you can, But from a 3D Earth Human perspective, it can't be done. Everything is separated, and there's only 3D. Everything is only this or that. It can't be this and that.
I hear you. I'm with you.
So it can't be done. My being, I would say, well, you know Rob, and so with the way that Rob and Ardif pattern the spectrum of positive and negative as type 1 and type 2,
Yeah.
I would classify myself as at the high end of type 2.
Mm-hmm.
So a very benevolent
Mm-hmm.
negative entity, meaning I have meaning. Let me define that for you. Meaning I will sometimes, not a lot, but sometimes still help someone for their own good.
I mean, you can call it synchronicity, but you're part of my breadcrumbs. I'm going to tell you something now that you have no idea. Me and Rob have been chatting today because of an experience, a being come in, and I'm going to keep it short because I'm still going through this process with Rob. And I asked him, he said no, he said, I'll speak to Treb last night to ask who is this being. He's on my Facebook wall. I just painted him. It was like within 10 minutes, and it was like, anyway. And he's a type 2. And Treb said he's from the Sagittarius constellation. So I'm working now with Rob and that and then I have free will, whether I wish to go ahead or not. I am going to go ahead, but at the moment I'm just neutralizing myself. I'm in a neutral zone. And this is, I feel like, oh, there's a breadcrumb. Casey's a breadcrumb and I'm your breadcrumb, so to speak, because, and it's a type 2, which is malevolent and benevolent, and they're neutral. And Rob, I would like to ask about your being. Rob Treb said they don't normally like humans. Yeah, they don't. Well, they're not. They don't like. They don't normally connect to humans too much. It's rare in as in the contact. But this one is really connected to me in a DNA, and Treb went on to talk about how I way back was part of one fractal of this, was part of that collective. Because I'm working on it, the Sagittarius collective, one part. So and I did leave a voicemail later on. Is there anyone else that's got like a dual one that's a neutral? I all hear people out there going, love and light, and am I the only one? No, you're another one that has got that. And I think it's good because I'm seeing, having a being like that, it's like there's a healing between that timeline and this timeline. For the being, for me, do go on, go.
You've got it. Everything is about restoring right balance. So we will keep incarnating until we understand I am the light, I am the dark.
Yes.
Once we understand that, we can put the light and the dark within ourselves into a right and harmonious balance so that we can have the most advantageous life experience and, be the most pure type of assistance we can in any of the worlds. And it is also what needs to happen simply to graduate 3D to 4D.
Yes.
And that begins with the neutralization of our base mechanism, which is the fight, flight mechanism. And when we look out into our world, we can see how that's fully activated and in effect. And all that needs to happen is for people to be willing to set that down for a moment to see a larger picture. But, depending on how much we've activated that in our life will depend on whether that's ever going to be possible.
I mean, obviously, there's such potential. We could do another show on what's coming, but we won't do that. We're going to stay here. We're going to stay because, others will resonate with you. This is for others. This will be new. Like for me, the crystals. I mean, what we're discussing now, I'm aware of. You're aware of, and you didn't know about my recent contact and what's come out of it. And not that I need validation because I had Rob. And I went straight to Rob, and he went to Treb, And that's it, because I've obviously, everyone knows out there, I'm in love with Treb. He's just got my heart. Has he got your heart too? Oh, he's mine. Okay.
He's got everybody's heart. How could Treb not have your heart?
He just has your heart. And this is how it works, because, you know, you say the word reptilian, and I don't have a judgment of it. I mean, when I painted this being, I painted the greys, I painted everything, the bug people. I mean, you know, and this was love. It was joy within 10 minutes. I don't have an aversion. And Rob suggested earlier on, he thought Treb came around me way back when I first got introduced to Rob, and I fell in love with him. And he said Treb was making the space, shifting the frequency. I mean, obviously aware what was coming, towards me, to assist with this being, to assist this being and this being, to make this. So I had no fear, but it gave me the, which today I've shared with Rob, it gave me this knowing, I've just spent this human lifetime deconstructing the idea I had about myself, my belief systems, my fears, my trauma. I know who I am, self-realization. And now it's time to do it on the fractalized, easy for the audience, me out there in the multidimensional, and to pull it back as it all comes in. So really, that's very similar to what you were saying about the crystal, that you were seeing you in different coming in. And I said to Rob, it's a healing. I'm bringing it. Why would I turn away? Because I have free will. I got free choice. You know, Rob said, you can tell him to piss off. I said, no, he's unconditional love. How can you even use the word, you know, negative? How can you do that? All I experience is this love. And the way he come through, I wouldn't want to annoy him. I can tell you, you know, you can feel that power behind them.
Yes.
But it's very similar to what you're going through and others are going through. And I think it's beautiful. And I love the breadcrumbs.
Yeah, me too. I need the breadcrumbs.
Yes, I need them. Remember where we put them. Anyway, let's not digress. So this, I really want you to continue, because you articulate this a lot better than I do. I just get all excited because that's my personality. It's who I am here. Continue with, you know, how consciousness is going now, how working with these beings like you have assists in the multidimensional healing, and where that's taken us to the next dimension and the rest. No pressure there, by the way.
Okay, yeah, that's just tell you everything all at once, all at the same time.
I hand it over to you.
Let's see if I can transmit that.
Oh no, you've got to do it that way. No, you know what I'm saying.
So this shift, so that's what we're attempting to assist with through this work. And one of the ways that we're doing that is through brainwave patterns, brainwave cycles, Hertz frequency cycles. Okay. And so we know that when we're in 3D physical space, we're primarily using that beta brainwave. And the brainwaves are always functioning in a pattern of balance, but the emphasis is on that beta wave when we're here in 3D physical space. And most people are trapped. They're locked in that beta frequency. They have been activating it for so long, they're not aware that there's any other frequency that amounts to what they would call reality. And so it's all they're giving their 100% undivided attention to it, which is fine. As when we're in a particular length of the cycles. But right now we're at a point in the cycle where it's time to wake up and possibly graduate. We will. And so we have to get out of that lockdown. And the lockdown has been lifted. The system itself is not enforcing that frequency wave anymore.
No.
That we like to call a quarantine. That's just that, it's just the system
Yeah.
locking in that frequency. So that really is, unless you're really determined to go sit in caves and meditate and to get out of it. Most people aren't.
No.
And so right now the system is not enforcing that. That was lifted some time ago. And it will stay lifted for some time out in front of us. However, we're quite some distance into that now, and it will inevitably reach that point in the cycle where it closes down again, where that window of opportunity closes down again. Yeah. And so the pictures that we're taking, so the crystal acts as an extension of my consciousness.
Yeah.
So my history, not just in this body, my entire history, all of what is behind me can come through that crystal. That's every dimension, every frequency wave, every level of experience of being, can come through. And it doesn't just come through to see. You noticed yourself as you gazed into the frame, your frequencies changed.
Yes.
And that's what those pictures are meant to do. So they act as a sort of a visual equivalent to the binaural beats, isochronic tones, that kind of idea.
Yeah.
They unlock you from that beta bandwidth.
Yeah.
And that will feel, a lot like you're starting to get sleepy, because when those higher frequency waves come in, that amounts to a higher light, and our bodies aren't used to holding that higher light. So when it comes in, you start to feel very sleepy. And the eyes begin to refocus themselves. The gaze becomes very soft, just like it does when you let go of physicality and begin to fall asleep. But you keep the eyes open and you let that penetrate you as much as possible while staying conscious and awake, and that will begin to acclimate you to making the shift. The shift in my mind literally is a shift in brainwave frequency patterns.
Yeah.
Those other brainwave frequency patterns are what we call the astral and the mental plane. And
I mean, it's just
the rest of ourselves. We're only experience the physicality portion in the 3D earth life, but then we go into the energy system, what we call the astral, the emotional system.
Yes.
I mean, the physical doesn't go anywhere when we're doing that. Everything is very physical when that happens, but physicality takes on new dimension. There's more you can do with physicality. Yes. For instance, if I wanted to, I could pick up that phone, or I could put my hand right through it. So there's more you can do with it. And that's another part of what we're showing right here in physical space.
Yes.
We're I love it. What is non-physical all the way through to the physical to show it to you. It's literally, we call ourselves the Galactic Travel Channel because we literally are a network.
Hold on, stop. I mean, don't stop. We're going to pause for a second because you just got me all excited, and that was beautifully expressed. It was coherent. It had clarity. And even someone like me, has experienced what I'm following it. And I'm sure anyone in the audience or who's going to watch on the replay will go into that. And it resonates because, which I find the higher the frequency of the beings, so the type of beings that come in as it shifted. I mean, obviously, all like with my artwork, all the canvases affect certain people. I want that one. This one, my first, it's a channeling of a being, a blue being, reptilian. Everyone that's seen it either wants to hug it, love it. Oh my God, it's beautiful. And I've just painted what normally would be in the program a fearful, programmed, conditioned, negative being. No. Now I as I'm creating this connection is unconditional love. It's reverence, it's respect, it's a mutual. And as I'm fully aware, as I'm experiencing the shift and evolving. So is this being shifting and evolving and healing. Have I got it? Yeah.
When we separate ourselves, the good from the quote evil,
Yeah.
that's when we are not allowing that completion of that, what we're calling evil. That's how we're perpetuating it and going to battle against it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
However, when we open ourselves to I am the light, I am the dark, and seek or at least take our attention most into a right and harmonious balance, and let the torque between each inform us of who we are, how to become stronger within ourselves, not just our point, but that point as well. That's when we're doing our greatest service.
I mean, it took this experience, and I got to shout out to, Treb, thank you, who's been for this last year working on these energies. I mean, shifting everything. And then if you'd gone back a few years ago, no matter how many Arcturians or Greys or how many times I've been on the craft, or no matter what I've done, I've never had a fearful experience ever with them. But if you go back 10 years and I saw this being, I would fuck off. No, I'm out of here. I'm not, because it wasn't the right time. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It shows you the programming which had to be there to experience the polarity. I get it. But it shows you that if, like you've correctly stated and so elegantly, if you shift your perception, if you stop the judging, and we do that first when we do the work on ourselves first.
Mm-hmm. I am the reality.
Yeah. And
when I am the reality. That's the mirror. I am the reality.
Yeah.
So
when we do that work on ourselves first, then after this type of work comes in. I mean, I have to say, I've been talking about this for some time in the groups that I run, and I'm seeing it in just normal people in brackets. I know who I am, but let's play the role, the game. Like me, I'm an arsehole sometimes. It's my good role. I play that well, got an Oscar. And it's happening to them. They're starting to connect. They've done all the work in my group. They've been working so hard the last couple of years to deconstruct the beliefs, the conditioning, the idea they have about themselves, until they realize I'm not human. That doesn't even exist, Homo sapiens sapien, and now they're starting to experience magic. And I call it the Harry Potter School of Magic. You've got your wand, but you don't know how to use it. Now's the time. Careful what you wish for. What is spell casting? Careful how you speak, because you will manifest. Boom, boom. Does that resonate with you? Am I
absolutely 100%? Again, I am the reality. I'll just keep using I. That's the universal I. Okay. I am the reality. The world is the world mirror. And so our agreeance and to the fact that I am the light, I am the dark, helps us create that reunion of ourself and the world, where they become a singularity, with ourself at the command, just as you said. The consciousness behind this world is the overriding consciousness of it. And that's when we learn to, as you said, create and create intentionally. And I feel more responsibly and certainly more purely, because it's the creations aren't adulterated by thoughts as inaccurate as before. Such as there's something over there to be afraid of, and I have to go fight against it before it decides to take over. That's the drama. That's the play world. It's the one that most people are experiencing, but it is the mind construct, not what we're talking about. It's the exact reverse of what you would think when you're locked into that situation.
I always say, and many times I've said it, I don't try it, but when it needs to be said, I'll say it again. And I put my hands up, always eating humble pie here. Years ago, I said it on my show the other day, years ago, when I was going through the process of self-realization, and I too had the experience you had, and I had it And that's what got me when I heard you on Rob's show. I had it from the crown down. And I kept hearing everyone, no, it can't, in the root chakra. I'm going, well, it didn't. And it's been, but anyway, then I heard you and I thought, one more. I feel okay now. But anyway, it's.
And we recognize each other, don't we?
We do recognize each other.
Because
yes.
we tend to have awareness first before we have the physical mastery that people doing it in the opposite direction do. And it's not one way or the other. It's where our attention comes in on the process. So our attention came in. What got most of our attention, what was what was happening up there at the crown. So we simply came in on it there, but then we still have to work our way down to the base chakra and then actualize the whole process the way back up the chakras. Whereas they do it just the reverse. So it's the same cycle. Two directionals. There's more directionals too. I believe there must be a way to also directional it from the heart out. And
I'm sure there is. I've never heard of anyone, and the experience was so profound. I mean, they, the what you call in brackets awakening, self-realization. The increments it comes through. It was the most powerful because the energies in my body from the top. I felt like, first of all, someone was pouring something over me on the. And then it went in, and then I was scared, and then I was happy, and I was crying, and then communication come in, allow, and it was like the only way I can do is to try and give you some context. It was like you still have some core beliefs in there. They had to come out, and it stopped here. It was weird, and they said, this God you created. And at that point, I loved the source God like nothing, not the God in the religion. It was this love of this God. But at that point, I thought this God source was separate from little old me at that point. I didn't realize it and they said, let that go. That's a belief. And I was fighting, and they were there. Allow, it's going to be okay. And in the end, I released. I let it go, crying, and it went down, and then boom, I realized, I am that. That was like, fuck. But you're the only one I've met.
There is of us. Yes, no separation. That is all there is of us, of any of us. That's why love and service are always the two. Those are the two primary things. The first one you learn because of the fear when it activates the fight-flight mechanism. You're laying there in your room is just your standard everyday person. Even in my case, yogi, having meditated, quite some time before this happened, wasn't accustomed to all of a sudden feeling hands on my body. That is going to activate your fight flight. The first thing that is the time is now. This is happening. It's not going to stop.
No.
You're going to ride this wave, and how are you going to ride this wave? And curled up on my side in a little ball at night, going to bed, rocking myself, saying, there's only, I just can't put it all together. What is this? And it's going to happen again. It's going to be here any minute.
I kept thinking it was going to come back, and every time I felt this, I went, oh my God, it's back. I remember. But slowly that dissipated. I mean, my consciousness.
Well, the thing that right there in that moment is that there's only one thing to do and only one place to go, and that's into your heart. And the second you know that, everything is okay again for a minute.
It is. I mean, the giggles in. I mean, for me, I started the giggling. And I didn't understand that. I was giggling, I was happy, in joy for no reason. And I didn't feel guilty. Prior to the experience, when I heard people say, and I was an avid stalker of Alan Watts and the rest of them, and Papa G and all that. That's how I got into self-realization, the satsangs and all of that. And, and when I'd hear people say, I'm God, and I go, no, And so I had that, but that's where they really came in, these beautiful beings, and they kept saying, as I was like, really scared, I'm telling you, crying, screaming, scared, it wouldn't stop. And they're going, allow, it's okay, it's going to be okay. And I trusted, because I'd been an experiencer with the beings all along, I trusted them, the familiarity. I let it go. How I let it go, I don't know. Don't ask me. But at the time, it wasn't a joyous experience per se, because I couldn't control it. That was another factor I realized. We control everything that's part of the human. We control everything, how we think, what someone thinks, what they should do, how to parent, how to score, how to vote. And I had lost control, and I was told, allow it. It was an illusion, the control I thought I had in this 3D world. All of that went on that day.
The control that we do have is our own awareness.
That's it. That's it.
And we get to choose how we pattern and focus that awareness and our personal attention. And so that's what we control, the patterns through which we see and experience the world through. And behind that is that which is the world, right? And we're in that, and that is in us.
Yes, I know.
And it's all one at the same time. But I think it's fascinating how, see, because I do have the inside and out awareness. So I was able to consciously make that shift elsewhere and experience the information in those fields and shift back into this one with that information intact as it embedded into every cell in my body. And so I have a very sharp clarity. The mental field is what is most awake in me, 9D. And so I'm able to hold a lot of information, and I'm able to hold a fully conscious state as that information actually, again, embeds into every cell, every consciousness cell, every being composing my universe.
Yes. Yeah, I'm with you.
Which is just a microcosm, right, of the macrocosm. And the first thing I saw was that there was only one thing to do, one place to go, and that was just to let myself fall into my heart. And as soon as I was there and had done that, I was okay. In your heart, there is no fear. And although the human central nervous system will still at the same time be in shock. And this is when you begin to discern yourself, the overriding consciousness over this universe, and the consciousness cells, the body itself, the central nervous system. It is having its own experience of this whole thing. As the overriding consciousness also is. And that's when we begin to realize that we're in service to each and every particle within our being. And we begin to learn to behave more beautifully toward it. We, stop, like if you overeat, you're not as inclined to do that anymore. You know what I mean? You don't make things hard on the body. You start understanding that it itself is an experience in itself, as well as, again, every cell that composes it. And so you begin to have this communication, this dialogue opens up between you and your body, between you and your universe, and again, every single particle in it. And that's what and those particles, by the way, are those beings that are coming through. It is the rest of ourself. It is every life experience we have ever had and moved through, and everybody that was ever drawn into our what's the word here, gravity, to have an experience in the worlds, right? No separation between consciousness and body. Consciousness is all there is of the body. Also, again, no separation between the two. You can discern between a consciousness that's composing a body and an overriding consciousness. And we do that, right? We talk about that in a larger sense as the realms. the angelic realms, the magical realms, the dimensional existence itself, all the way down through to 321D where we are. And so, but this is the microcosm of that. And in this awareness, as we begin to treat our own universe more aptly, more beautifully, more brilliantly, more beneficially, that then exudes out into our 3D space. We are that here. And that's the awareness and the energy having an effect here. And the more we do that, the more steadily, because at first it's a process of going back and forth, remembering and forgetting, until the awakening. And when the awakening comes, the reason I call my own awakening is an awakening is because at that point there was no going back and forth.
I'm with you.
The awareness was full on, and that's when you become aware of the extraterrestrial dimensions, which are the extraterrestrial dimensions of our very own consciousness, by the way, which is why not to fight it, resist it, bury it. It's a lot of what we call the shadow, those negative aspects of ourselves no, they're not negative aspects. They're being in their own right. We chose an awareness of a relationship with them that we posed as negative and pushed that down. And here's an example. I was raised by my father in a house full of boys in a time where it was clearly superior to be male.
I
pushed my feminine aspect down. Okay, it's more beneficial to be male. I'm going to be able to do more if I'm male or male-like. Push that feminine down into the shadow. If I keep doing that, it's going to get ugly. If I hold it there in the shadow, it's going to grow in the shadows and become quite a monstrous thing. But it's me who did that, and it's not what it is in its own right. It was femininity isn't evil.
No, I hear you.
It can grow into something that appears that way to us if we do that for long enough. Through enough lifetimes, and especially, in a 3D Earth incarnation.
Well, definitely about the 3D. We do that a lot in the 3D. I mean,
so it's very simple, mundane things that we push down there.
I must say, I still do eat humble pie. And I said, where did that come from? And I'm very vigilant. I'm always vigilant. I'm just vigilant. And for me, if something I've hidden pops up, I never resist it. I go, thank you. What do I need to do for this?
Mm-hmm.
I observe that energy. I observe that manifestation, that creation of me. And I'm being the observer. I'm not it, so to speak. So I'm always vigilant with that. And now and again, I go, and I laugh. Sometimes I laugh.
It's so funny when we finally begin to get it, and catching ourselves in our own resistance is the point of an incarnation. And so I don't think that we ever get over that resistance because we are holding a right and harmonious balance for who we are in this incarnation. And so there will always be torque. You're saying resistance. I like to call it torque. That's a good torque that shows us the differential. And so anyway, we like to, if we catch ourselves in our resistance, and do like you just did, begin to open to see at least something more than you were prior. That will, and the releasing of the resistance is a process. If it were entirely released, we would of course not still be here. We would automatically make us higher dimensional.
We wouldn't be chatting live on my show. Put it that way.
Out of here. Well, the appearance may still continue, but we would, our primary attention would be somewhere else.
I mean, as I said, the process. Obviously, hindsight's a bitch, because I can sit here now, and I've said it thousands of times on my shows. When back in the day, when Muji, all of them, Alan Watts said it's so simple, I was like, you can fuck off, it's not simple. What do you mean it's simple? It's like, I'm like, and obviously your hindsight.
Well, it's simple, but it's not easy to actualize, right?
There you go. Thank
The
you.
idea is very simple. Oh, yes, of course. How could I not see that prior?
Yeah.
But now apply that principle to the life, and now you start to see where the challenge lies, depending on where you have been enacting something completely different. You're like, oh, well, if I embody this principle, that means that I can't do this thing anymore. And yeah, then you have to get through all of that. And
yeah, it's a process, right? Let's come back to the crystal now for the last part of the show. And as I said, there has been a technical issue. StreamYard is not allowing for us to share. I've tried, Casey's tried the photographs. So what I'm going to do after the show, I'm going to, Casey, email over some more for me, and I'm going to put them on the advert on the Facebook wall. So you can go and really and take your time and explore them. So there won't be a quick screen across, and really look at them. Yes, do go on.
And there's videos, so we'll link you to my YouTube. I put them all together and upload
All the links are in the advert,
where you can watch them one after the other.
Oh, there you go.
Video in groups of 100.
Down below, I should have put all the info down below on YouTube. It should be there. So you'll be able to access and see them. Now, where are you now at this point in the conversation with me, with the crystal and with the beings? Now, the beings are coming through the crystals, okay?
They're coming through me.
Yeah.
Yep, they're coming through me. The crystal acts as an extension of my consciousness.
Yeah.
So
then into the crystal.
This allows me to reflect and reflect the light, and to work with the elemental realm, which again has to cooperate with me in order to compose the formations.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when this is happening, this is an experience that I'm experiencing from the withinness of myself. There's a very particular experience of this. So it's not just something that you're seeing with your eyes, and you'll know this when you yourself are gazing at the frames. You begin to have an experience within yourself that very much tells you, oh, there's something happening here.
Yes.
Yeah. And you can shift as deeply into that as you wish to go.
Right. I have a question.
Yes.
I'm going to be, excuse the pun, what we call the devil's advocate. I'm going to ask this question, because a lot of this is coming into many conversations.
Okay.
Now, in my experience and others, but I can only speak about my personal experiences. I haven't experienced anyone else's. I can't speak about it. So in my personal experience, I'm aware, and the analogy is now these elementals are coming through the crystals, and they are animated. There, the frequencies there, there's emotion in there, everything is in there, and they're now coming into.
They are the crystal.
Sorry?
They are the crystal.
They are the crystal. They're coming into so we can, with the physical eyes, even if you are not in brackets awake, with the physical eyes, they're coming into our 3D reality. I'm going back to being a Homo sapien. I'm talking as a normal crazy girl, right? Okay. So they're now manifesting. We see UFOs in the sky. We see all the phenomena going on. We've got people like me experiences, blah, blah, blah. But now they're manifesting through matter. Okay. I know it's you, but just stay with me on this one. Watch. They're also manifesting from my truth. They're among us. They're not just in what we call, when I use the word inanimate object, I know it's consciousness and it's alive, but for the audience, they're manifesting through an inanimate object. They're animated, they're alive, they're conscious, they're alive, and you sense it. So do you think, or how do you feel, or what is your understanding of that soon we'll be able to connect with them as we do in a shopping mall with everybody else?
Yes. So they're not here in 3D. 3D is a planetary level curriculum,
Mm-hmm.
meaning you experience yourself on your own planet, not being
Yeah.
able to get off your own planet.
Uh-huh.
And on your planet are the dimensions in front of you.
Yeah.
There's the second dimension, the rest of the animal
Yeah.
kingdom and plant kingdom. And in front of that is the elemental kingdom, the
Yeah.
mineral kingdom,
Yeah.
right? That composes the land and all of the things that we see. That's the elemental realm composing all of that.
Yeah.
And just like in front of 3D, there's 2D and 1D, and we have access to all that. That's right here in what we would call our world, right?
Yes. Yeah.
They don't experience themselves. They don't experience 3D, but
Yeah.
2D will experience 1D.
Yeah.
3D will experience 3D, 2D, and 1D.
Yeah.
Okay. And this goes on and on and on through the dimensions. So 4D is right here. It has access to us, 3D and 2D and 1D. It appears in its world.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm with you. Well,
Well,
I mean, that was beautiful.
this
Go
is
on.
true in 5D and 6D and as far as out as you want to go with the Ds. So it's all right here to itself in its world, but it's not in ours. It's not in 3D.
Or do we shift to 4D?
Yes, there you go. So when we begin to be able to see that, see them, what we're seeing is the next dimension.
Yeah.
We are shifting out. Yes.
So there, I wanted to go down that rabbit hole because you articulate it so beautifully to show those listening that are now experiencing and wondering, do I need to practice? If you're experiencing, let's call it this phenomena, because you've worked so hard on yourself, it's a 4D. You're in it. I can't quite drop the 3D yet because still doing the work here as we need to do, but we can be in both the dimensions at the same time. And I never looked at it like dimensions. I looked at it like my perception, my linguistics was way back I was 1 foot here and 1 foot there, and it was in and out, and then it just went, I don't know how I got there, but it shifted. No memory of it. But then I realized the merge. It was the merging.
4D, there's just an extra added dimension to 4D in both space and the way time can be experienced.
Yes. Yes.
And so, and when you're in 4D and you're in 4D, what I'm going to say permanently,
Yeah.
And by that I mean your own conscious state of attention that's here. When that's there,
Yeah.
you can. There's a variety of different ways to do it. I'm not going to go there because that's a long story. What I really wanted to focus on was you have access now to a world in which there is off-planet travel. Mm-hmm. Not everybody is doing it, by the way, but there'll be that will exist. That will be normal. There will be a consensus awareness of extraterrestrial presence, Yeah. Some of that extraterrestrial presence will actually be on the planet. It's not being denied in 4D.
Yeah.
And our experience of time, although still in a linear format, has an extra dimension to it, and which we can travel along what I just call the vertical axis. Yes. And that's what we would in this dimension refer to as an out-of-body experience. Which is a colloquial term. Yeah. What that means is you're just shifting out beyond your regular normal space.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And be, quote, elsewhere. And that quote elsewhere could be anywhere elsewhere, not just outside of where your physical body is. It could be anywhere elsewhere.
I'm with you. I mean,
so those dimensions will be fully in play. Fully in play.
Look, I could talk to you for hours and hours. I mean, obviously, you're going to come back for part 2 of this conversation on open minds. And I did say we'll talk today, and then we're going to go, should we talk about that next time? And then that will take us down another rabbit hole because it'll be another show, and we can expand. And I've got to say, the way you express your truth is beautiful.
Well, thank you.
And it has clarity, it has context. I mean, I'm just an excitable being, and I just shout it out. Yes, who I am, and I love being me. Okay, I'm having fun playing the game, and I can understand, really resonate how you're helping so many other people, beings, through what you are actually doing and the energy that you put out there. Even though I've advertised all your links and everything, sell yourself shamelessly. Where can people get hold of you, Casey, or to contact you, or any books or any programs?
Very fittingly, you can find me online at consciousnessexploration.com. And that website will link you to all of our other platforms. We have the video platforms, YouTube and Odyssey. There is a Patreon. We're an unconditional platform, so nothing there is hidden. You can just go there, and that's where all of the crystal work gets posted. Even the non-portrait variety, everything gets posted there. So that's a fun place to go, just to see all of that, of what's coming through the crystal. Well, we have a forum board, which is where you can find me personally. So anybody that wants to talk to me can just go to that link and create a username and password, and that allows you to interact with us there. We have weekly Zooms, healing circles, dream circles. I mentor in the out-of-body experience, do the crystal work. All of that is there.
She is amazing, guys. I'm telling you, from the first time I heard her on Rob's show, she's amazing. Your energy is beautiful, and it's been awesome connecting with you.
Very fun.
My little breadcrumb on my journey today after what's happened.
It's not easy for me to find somebody who understands what I'm saying. So let me assure you, this has been an absolute delight speaking with somebody who does. It helps so much more of the understanding just trickle out. So
yeah, it does. I mean, it's right time, right place. I mean, it's same for me. I mean, obviously Rob and Kalina understand me, and William and that. But I've been searching, where are they? I can't be the only. I was starting to think, am I Billy No Mates or what? And then I heard you. And I went, wow. And what's beautiful is same experience, but from a different perception. It's beautiful. I'm getting excited.
And it's not anything to be feared to let yourself let in another's perception, even when it seems so different from yours. It's going to be an enormous learning experience if you authentically let yourself go into another point of view, which is what I mean by merge consciousness. And just begin to see what life looks like through those patterns. And you'll see the differentials between those patterns and your patterns. It will help you appreciate some things about yourself that maybe you just sort of take for granted right now and don't really show much appreciation. And it will also give you some appreciation for context within that other pattern that you would have never imagined could do the things that it does, that you actually do like, that you then can take on for yourself.
Yes.
So it's just a way to add to yourself, to add to your knowing, to add to your being, to add to your expression, to add to your capacity and what it is that you can do. And this is really fascinating, because one of the things that I found I could do really early on was connect with other people's cleared neural networks, cleared neural pathways. And so my skill that got unearthed with the crystal happened when I, like you, connected with another of us, Christine Bennett, who is an EP artist named Kasara, who is absolutely out of this world. And when I saw what she was doing, I was like, whoa, that would be so great to be able to do something visual to show people what the OBE is, And that night, I went into an OBE. I shifted into her cleared neural networking, her entire pathway that led into her being able to do what she is right now here in our field. And I embedded the template. I just merged with that. And now I have that. And in that experience, I was just out in space, and ET after ET after ET was just stepping up in front of me and rotating so that I could see them in full behind the backdrop of the star system they were from. And I had no idea.
Stop with the breadcrumbs. Stop
I had no idea what that was going to lead to. But after
mean,
that, that's when the skill with the crystal came through. And that's who I'm seeing now, is all the beings. And there were just thousands. It was like a 5-hour long experience. You know,
I mean, hold on, let me jump in here. The breadcrumb again, the day before the experience with the blue being, I had another, it was a contact experience, and there was I'll cut it short, there was a being and said, let me introduce you. I was looking at him, it's like an ascendant. It was a very, respectful being. It's time, I will introduce you. And I'm sure he said star family. And I went, yes. What? And I turned, and I think there was about 5 different civilizations or something, and they were there. And the next day, when I come out of that in the morning, 5:30, boom, I went, what was that about? It was a totally different experience, nothing like the other experiences. And the next day come family number 1. It was like, boom.
It will always amount to a gift. The entire life and life experience is a gift that's continually being given, and we are receiving that gift in the ways that we want at our own pace and through our own processes. But life is never anything other than a gift that is being given. And when you are so open as to purely set down yourself and step into the perception of another, literally stand in their footsteps and look out through their eyes, through their patterns, that in itself is a gift. That in itself is contact. That's real contact.
Yes.
This thing that we do through space is kind of an illusion.
Yeah, I'm with it. I always say, people say to me, they always want to know about the nuts and bolts, and I'm not interested in the physicality of it. And I will say, why didn't you ask me, how did that contact experience affect my consciousness, my individuality? What happened with the connection? What expanded, or what was revealed? What knowing came in? It was nothing to do with the physicality of blah de blah. I went here. It was about, how did it shift me? How did it benefit me in my evolution? And obviously the experience the day before, where I was shown, and I mean, you should have seen me yesterday with Rob. I was like, I can't believe this. I was like, I was neutral. I couldn't express. It was like in shock. I mean, when it comes, what different experiences. I thought I'd experienced. This is where you eat humble pie. I thought, I've experienced most things. Oops, yeah. You can laugh. I laugh now.
Been there.
Never saw that coming yesterday when you got this humongous reptilian, and it's like, oh, anyway, and it's, but I understand, and this is what I said to Rob today. I understand, and I've stolen this phrase from Brandon Thomas because I love him to bits. It so resonates with me. That's why I've stolen it from him. I think he stole it from somebody else, but never mind. Here we go. We all own it. It's, I'm getting to know, and I'm becoming a greater, bigger version of myself. Yes. I'm knowing myself. I've got to go that way, actually, because each experience is expanding me out, and I'm coming into remembering me.
It's the true knowing of ourself, and not the thought version. Yes. And in that, the most extraordinary thing is that you find there's nothing to fight. Right? There's you, and there's more of you. There's nothing to fight. And because of that, your compassion awakens. And that's what inevitably changes our world. We move from fight, flight into our compassionate existence. Yeah.
It's amazing. Can I ask you one question before we go?
Yes.
You know, I mean, obviously you're seeing the beings the way you do and your experiences and your OBEs. I mean, I'm not an OBE person, I must tell you. It's really, I don't like, you know, anyway. So when I saw this beautiful being yesterday, there was no flight or fright. Do you think that what you call the label they've given it, the kundalini experience, where there was flight or fright, and they literally annihilated it from the system. Do you think because that was done then, do you think that it either started to annihilated the flight or fright, started the process, and that's why it's maybe easier? I don't know. I'm asking you.
What I would say is there's various ways to experience, and those ways, I would call them experiencing myself as point consciousness. You would say experiencing yourself possibly from the mental field. And so you're allowing this connection only through the mental field. There won't be fight flight in there. Fight flight happens where the body is. And so you have to get into body space. In order for the fight flight to be activated, which you want to happen, because then you're going to deliberately neutralize. You're not going to run. You're not going to fight. You're going to stand here and face. And in facing this, you're going to come into a greater understanding of this.
That's what happens.
So it's important that it happens. We will never get it done. We work on it to the degree that is necessary for the shift through 4D and beyond. And so we still need those mechanisms.
Of course, we need to cross the road. You know, if someone's chasing me with a machete down the road, I'm going to fly and run.
Yes, and we just don't need it to the degree that we do in 3D. And so we're neutralizing it to get out beyond 3D. And we want that to be neutralized. So like in an out-of-body experience, I can experience myself as point consciousness. This will feel just like me and just like I am in a body. And I won't even notice that I am point consciousness until I look and, oh, there's no body.
I have experienced that too. Yes,
and that's when I realize that there's no fear. So fear comes with the body. Because your body can experience horrible things. Its arm being cut off or getting decapitated.
I mean, there is a degree.
The body that brings fear. So we can experience as point consciousness, and that would be experiencing through the mental field. We can experience ourselves as point consciousness merged in the consciousness field of another that is embodied, but there is still a distance between ourself and that body. And so again, there's not fear, or definitely not the degree of fear that is experienced by the consciousness inhabiting the body. And then we can experience ourselves directly embodied as that one. And that's when, as we are right here, by the way, and that's where we experience the fight flight, and we definitely want it activated. So after you, I can see that you're a top-down process. This is just another example of it. So your awareness of the being, and you gave a yes at the level of awareness that came down into the mental field where you could see the being. And if you continue to give a yes, that will process down into your emotional body, your galactic heritage, literally. And there you can process all of the ways that, you find you feel about this, and being authentic and genuine is what will help you, move through this space and not just continually perpetuate you in incompleteness.
I'm with you.
And then at that energetic and emotional level, if you give the yes there, that will come down into the body, and where you will experience the idea of standing in the presence of that being and feel the fearsomeness. I mean, because it is fearsome. These are extraordinary beings, and the level of presence there will ignite our central nervous system, and we want that to happen to a degree when we're ready, and to work with it. This is a way of working with it in a nice, safe way, right?
As my artwork is. I mean, Rob said, when I went back, I'm touching up the painting now to finish the canvas, and every time I went back, I connected again. I was joy and laughing and looking, and it was this unconnected. And Rob said, but I'm sure Rob must be psychic, it's a joke. And then every so often I go and sit on the bed, because it's in my bedroom, and I just look. And there's no, because when I'm doing my artwork, there's no thought process. There's no mental. I'm gone wherever I'm gone. And he said that, Gloria, that's your connection.
Yeah.
And just like you just said, yours is through that way with the crystal. Mine's through my art. And yesterday I saw the being, but I had so much unconditional love. I mean, I was crying with happiness.
And at the same time, just be aware of your biological system and that it's having its own experience. And that's where you'll find the higher point. And that's where the overriding consciousness, you will be able to process all of that.
That's what was happening. And
when it does, that's when we find ourselves literally in the physical presence of the ETs. And what a wonderful place to leave off and continue the dialogue.
I think it's beautiful. We are going to continue. We're going to have part 2. An absolutely, awesome conversation. Part 2, we're going to continue. Thank you so much. Thank you. It's just been an absolute joy talking to you.
I loved every minute.
I loved it. I just loved it. Another me, another version of me. I'm loving it. It's just like, and so exciting, and makes me, I really don't do crystals, but however, it makes me want to go and get big crystals. No, I won't do that. I've got and thank you for everyone who's either watching live or I'm going to watch on the replay. If anything in the show resonates with you, please follow your path, your truth, and see how you feel with that. If it doesn't resonate with you, just put it to one side. You never know. You just don't know. But if you've turned up for the show, it's resonated. So thank you, everybody. Until the next show, it's bye from me and it's bye from Casey.